Thank you for attending the Cannabis Investor Webcast. Our platinum sponsors today are Cannabis Science Incorporated, Kaya Holdings Incorporated, Nemus Bioscience Incorporated, Technical 420, Tariga Sciences Incorporated, and Pathogen DX. Please reserve the date May 23rd, 2016 for the Cannabis Publicly Traded Companies, Investors, Analysts, and Media Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. The website address is cannainvestorconference.com. Again, cannainvestorconference.com. Our first presenter today is Nick Brusator, Chairman of Affinor Growers Incorporated. Nick, give me a couple of seconds and I will now turn the screen over to you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me on your webcast. It's been a while since I've done anything sort of public like this outside of Affinor's webcast. I wanted to take you through the platform that Affinor Growers has and give you a very small, short, brief synopsis of myself. I've been in the vertical farming space for probably 15 years, way back when vertical farming first started. There was a very select few of us that were involved. I did built a lot of movie things that you've seen in large movies prior to this and invented the power grow system way years back. I've been in plant physiology and organic chemistry for quite some time in the extracts and learning how to mass produce plants on a high-level protocol to increase or decrease compounds with metabolic pathway manipulation. And through this whole process, designing vertical farming systems that will mass produce and automate the idea of not only manipulating plants for the compounds, but mass producing the plant tissue at the same time in an automated cubic square footage form. This and what I've been working on for the last 3 years with Affinor Growers is 2 global patents, one being an extremely amazing roller automated propagation and growing equipment, which will be a stellar indoor production system and utilized largely for pre-propagation on a mass form. We also have another design which will be receiving a global patent here very soon, which is a mechanical pollinating design largely we're using for the strawberry industry, which will dominate and mass produce strawberries with no bees required, no water waste, and no pesticide use. So aside from having, one global patent already issued and closing another global patent here in a greenhouse format and as well as indoor, we feel we have the technology of mass producing the plants in a state-of-the-art format that, in all honesty, is really going to outgrow where the marijuana markets are right now, because I believe that the price of marijuana is going to come down, and we're kind of trying to align ourselves with more the tobacco industry, large pharma industry, due to the fact that when the policy changes and it federally legalizes, we hope to be the chosen technology that will be able to take care of the mass production, serving all of the microbial issues based on a number of things that I've learned over many, many years of growing plants. We also are able to, utilizing our technology, able to create the replication data that is needed for the drug validation companies, that when they grow the plants and you extract compounds and you want to create a drug, you need to show the efficacy of the product. You need to be able to show the ability to produce, mass produce in a governed form that will be replicated over and over so that the safety of the compounds will not be jeopardized, or the protocols. So based on our technology, we're able to mass produce the plants, manipulate the metabolic pathways to achieve the organic chemistry, and be able to prove that with validation through university relationships that we have, and are working on a number of different things on even a higher level. I can't comment too much on some of the things that we're involved in because they are not completed and not released. But I can tell you that the technology that we have is going to dominate in the mass production of marijuana when it's down to around $300, $400 a pound, and the tobacco industries and the pharma industries are strangleholding it. The extract side of things, the problem that we have is the stuff will be able to come in from all over the world. When it comes to mass producing for the tobacco industry, they're still going to have the same microbial issues that anybody else has. So I would believe that our technology, based on the way that we grow it and the determination on the microbial issues prior to flowering, is where we're at. We do not feed the plants any fertilizers. We replenish our soil so that we grow our soil first, and we replenish all the bacterias and funguses that are required so that we only feed the plants water ever. This helps with a evaporation process in the air in facilities that will add to the microbial issues on the leaf tissue. If you have too much fertilizer or waters that are in the fertilizers that are in the water, you find in the evaporation form it's all throughout the airspace and conglomerates and condenses and creates microbial issues on the leaf tissue. So that's why we only feed water, we replenish our bacteria, and we will be doing this for our food processing as well. Affinor owns its technology. It will be able to license its technology to all of the amazing growers that are actually going to be able to want to compete on a much larger scale when things legalize. And we're able to also mass produce the food in the same format with with our tissue analysis being very clean. When you grow your soil, you know what's in the soil. This makes for very appealing extracts for pharmaceutical companies. We will be a very large leader, I believe, in the transgenic arena due to the FDA and the constraints against growing transgenes. I believe we will be the answer to a lot of mass production of plant species that are currently not being mass produced, such as the global shortage of kale. So with the technology being able to mechanically pollinate mass produced plants on a level of competing on a global form to be able to service perhaps the tobacco industry and the large pharma. You know, we look forward to licensing the technology and be able to service and support the growers that are wanting to mass produce the product in a form that like no other form. And just to remind people, particularly in the United States, you know, I was giving speeches in New York with the governor of Rhode Island and Trish Reagan from CNBC, you know, very, very long time ago about these issues. So I'm pretty familiar with the need and the drive for food safe security, just basically production of plant tissue in a safe, governed format, whether it be for food or pharmaceutical. The fact that we'll be able to do it in our equipment in a very low cost form and service all of these industries to a level of degree of plant sciences that has not been done to date on a mass scale. We're gearing up right now with strategic relationships throughout the world, and we will begin to license the technology on a larger form after we finish our operations in Quebec, where our head office is. We have 45 acres of paid for land that we bought, 45 acres of pristine strawberry agriculture land. We have a project being built there that is, the forms are poured, we're ready to pour the slab and put the steel in to finish the building. And we've paid cash for all of this. We have virtually no debt. We have been working very hard in the business side of things to achieve some of the things that are required for us to be able to service the industry and create a bunch of leaders in the industry utilizing our technology and our agriculture expertise. So we're able to design and outfit facilities in a state-of-the-art vertical farm automated format. And when I say automated, I mean we can automate it to the point where your automation costs are capital, but your operation costs will drop drastically based on the fact that I'm quite familiar with what the cost is to grow marijuana, cut it down, clip it, dry it, move it, analyze it. If this can be done in such a format of automation that your costs of operating with people drop drastically. And believe me, at the end of the day, the cost of water, energy, and people in order to create the marijuana industries are your three main factors in the drive. And God bless you if you have microbial issues, because you won't pass any of the CVs and you won't be able to sell your product. So it's very touchy and a lot of money at stake. And I just want to make sure that the people that we're doing business with are protected from a lot of the issues in the growing side of things and the production side of things. So if we can grow it and sell it for $300 a pound to the tobacco industry or to the pharma industry, or they can buy the facilities from us and grow it themselves. When federal law changes and the policy changes, we believe that the governing and the policy is all written for a class 2 or 3 or whatever FDA controlled drug substance, tobacco and alcohol. The government will probably just step behind those policies. They're already written. The taxation, the federal taxation, the distribution, the licensing, and all of the in and outports for any product in this arena are already in place. I don't think that, this is going to be very much longer before this changes. Now, however, the boutique side of things, there's very particular, the tobacco industry is going to have some competition because there's some amazing growers, there's some people that create amazing product, and marijuana users are particularly finicky about what's in it now, and what does it look like, what is the flavor, what's in it as far as cannabinoids and trichomes. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. We're ready to service all of the serious players that are financed and looking forward to doing something on a much larger proprietary scale. Affinor is raising capital right now to complete its operations in Quebec and become revenue producing with food with strawberries, as we have a 5-year purchase order from the largest greenhouse growers and distributors in North America, being Mastronardi Produce. I've worked with them for many, many years. We're applying for some exemptions with Health Canada for some drug discovery, utilizing our herbal analytics lab in Washington. And we've been working extremely hard to create synergies and be able to be an A to Z non-stop, one-stop shop for plant replication data to achieve the compounds, to get it to a product, to be able to either license it out for revenues, the compound patent, or just build it and sell it into the industry. We're looking at a number of different things. I can't really comment too much on what just yet. But we have hired Dr. Haider Koja, a molecular biologist, an amazing plant geneticist, very well known in our industry, and is here to help with a number of different things on the degree to ensure the replication data for the pharma industry is completed for various groups that might want to do some testing. It's very exciting because we're able to interlock our software. So if we were to do a grow for, say, a pharmaceutical company, let's pick one, Pfizer, say. Now, don't read into that, because we have done nothing with Pfizer and we are in no discussions with Pfizer. But I'm just saying, if they were to hire us to do a grow for a particular plant species, it doesn't have to be cannabis. And we would be able to have them monitor the software. We would do the grow, validate it with a scientist, and they would be able to download the information on all the parameters they want to monitor from wherever they are in the world through our software, wherever it is in the world. So conceivably, we can interlock universities with pharmaceutical companies and have them share the same data that are all working on the same compound patents and things like this, to quickly move them through validation. And that's going to be the next phase here, ladies and gentlemen, is drug validation and the compound production and the efficacy of that and how it's done. The less microbial and compounds that are foreign, other than the substance you're looking for, it becomes costly to separate after a while. So there's a number of different things that the pharma industry is going to look for, the tobacco industry is going to look for, large growers that are in the boutique industry right now that are going to look for. And Affinor is very excited to help them all. We're ready to do business now. Our equipment is ready for commercialization. We're very excited about our lab, Herbal Analytics, in Washington. We're very excited about some of the things that we have coming with respect to some of the hard work that the Affinor team has been doing. And I think that, in a fairly short period of time, as the world understands the issues in water, the production issues in farming, it's disheartening to see California with its droughting and some of the cell mutation that is taking place, and the governments that are starting to band together in this global warming process. And it can't happen fast enough, folks, on the food side of things. And I know this is a cannabis related thing, but water issues are huge. I don't care what plant you're growing. Pesticide issues are an issue, and we are facing much larger issues in agriculture than anybody knows. And like I said, I've been in this for quite some time, and it's unfortunate that our business perhaps would take off based on the demise and the global warming issues, but it's reality, and Affinor is here to service and do everything in its power to try to achieve and bring in other technologies for water, alternative energy, composting. We will be growing our soil so that we know exactly what's in our soil, and growing the plants and reusing the soil. We'll be adding alternative energy so that we are a very efficient operations. And so with alternative energy, automation, and mass production with no water waste and no pesticide use, I really don't see how anybody would fail growing whatever they decide utilizing and working with Affinor growers. So I didn't even go through my PowerPoint. I would just basically open it up for questions and display some of the things here with regards to the technology. This is the roller design, which is the propagation. So in the very first thing there where you see the single unit with 11 levels, those are all propagated. There's about 1,600 plants per level on rollers. So they roll into the major platform there. That's a 12-foot by 12-foot space on rollers. They separate the plants and move them, and then they go to 200 plants per level and roll into phase 2, 15 days in phase 2. They roll into phase 3, and they're separated 55 plants per level, and then they shoot out the end, and these lifts are all automated, and those are rollers, so the plants go in one end and they spit out the other end. The next design is this is the facility, what it would look like here on the indoor production. That's a very large propagation facility. This is the new design. This is a prototype just for patent purposes. This machine is stainless steel. It's designed, it can be indoors, outdoors, Arizona, it can be anywhere it needs to be to achieve mass production of plants. It's stainless steel. It's a pretty state-of-the-art piece of equipment. The arms are staggered for sunlight for greenhouse use. It rotates for mechanical pollination very slowly. This is a greenhouse. This is what it would look in a greenhouse. And this is the facility. We are actually permitted and building in Quebec. There's 36 of those towers, and there's the pre-propagation in the white building in the greenhouse. That facility there on 1 acre will produce $5.5 million a year worth of vegetables. So, and that's selling vegetables nowhere near the price of marijuana. So it holds, in this particular facility, it holds 1,160 plants, I believe, per 130 square feet. and it's pretty state of the art. And we use both designs again to propagate, and then once they're propagated and the tissue and the hardening of crowns or whatever it is we're trying to do is done, then they're able to go into the sunlight and staying in soil. We do not grow hydroponic in sunlight. I've always found it's just way too much cell elongation. So, and I would expect that that would be the same for marijuana. Um, Anyways, I'll move on. You can see the bee issues. We pollinate. We're into leafy greens and medicinal pharmaceutical plants. And but I wanted to drive home today. These are the people that we work with, Mastronardi Produce. They're a massive company. They do excess of $1 billion a year. We are also non-GMO certified, and our company is, all of our equipment is seismic approved for earthquakes. Has to be seismic per project, but Quebec is seismic approved. It's all again patented and permitted, and we're building as we go here. So the other side of it is, you know, again, our Washington Herbal Analytics. We own our lab there with some amazing people that are professors from Bastyr University. We've been working with a company, Good to Grow, in the United States. You know, they have not achieved the 502. There's just been a few things with when you're dealing in the medical side of things with reporting income. So just a few things. I can't really elaborate too much on any of the Good to Grow stuff, but I can certainly elaborate on everything else. And we have, just for the record, we have a lot of 502 producers now that are approaching Affinor to license the technology to become a producer in a format such as us. So we're not really doing too many acquisitions. We're focused largely on our Quebec facility and being able to make the technology available through licensing, royalties, equipment margin. You know, we have our revenues. And we're very excited to do business in the United States. We have some news and some things that we've been working on to complete in the United States, and we're pretty excited about that. So, if anybody has any questions, I'm really happy to expand on anything that you might have.
Thank you, Nick. Give me a couple of seconds to queue up questions. We have a question from Alan Brockstein. Alan, I unmuted you, and I think you can go ahead with your question.
Oh, wow. Wasn't ready for that. How are you, Derwin?
How are you doing, Alan?
I'm good, thanks. Hey, Nick, just a question about the $30 million Duchess line of credit. What is the status there? Have y'all filed with the SEC yet, and when would you expect that to be finalized?
Yeah, that's actually, I believe it is finalized now, Alan. We just, because of the price of the stock, we're just going to hold tight on that. We're working on on another form of financing as well, which is it's sort of a larger fund that really it's financing, and it's equity and financing. And you typically on a Duchess Capital thing, though, it's a good opportunity. I would prefer to use that at a higher price and when our stock is higher volume, so that it doesn't really become out of control by way of our market share price.
Got it. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thank you.
Next question, Nick. I will ask these audience members do not have a speaker or microphone. How much have you received in funding to date, and how much do you need in the short term and the long term?
Sure. To date, we've received about $3 million in funding to date because we've had a number of some options and warrants that were exercised. I personally, Vertical Designs are the designer firm. They wrote a check for $880,000 back, I don't know, a year ago. At 40 cents to exercise its warrants. Our stock was quite high. I also wrote a check for $550,000 into the private placement at 25 cents. And then I did about $1 million, I think, cash in open market buying. to basically sort of grab control of the company and work very hard with Sebastian. So we've gone through about 3 million, and we're going to probably raise another 2 million, and then the rest would be financing. But then we would be in full-blown revenue with about a 1.5 million dollar, I believe, a year net profit at the end of the financing. So we would be in quite a bit different position. Short-term financing, we probably only need 1 million, and that finishes our building and gets us, some operating capital and moves things along quite quickly. So we look to, we've got a few things that we've been working on that are pertinent to us completing what we want.
Next question. What do you see as the next catalyst for Affinor?
Well, I think the drug discovery is going to be very large for us. We have quite a plan there, which we'll start probably unveiling soon. Also the food production. I think as the larger groups, and again I can't say anything, but as the larger groups come forth to us to utilize the technology and they understand what's available to them, I think licensing is going to be a huge catalyst for Affinor and royalties. Of course, the equipment sales will be very large, but our operations in Quebec to show the world on the food production, that's going to be just massive for us. That's going to change everything for Affinor very, very quickly. And I think that, as your market in the United States and in Canada it changes, I think that we'll be starting to work with a lot of great growers down there, and we are quite selective now. We want to make sure that the expertise is within the companies, and we really, not to discredit any growers, but we really have to be careful and want to make sure that our alignments are solid with groups that are going to be effective and actually lead the way with us, and that's kind of the next catalyst for us.
Next question. As a percentage of future revenues, could you give us a breakdown regarding revenues for licensing, royalties, sure, equipment sales?
Yep. So just the Quebec and the facility in Quebec, when it's completed, it'll be about $5.5 million in revenue. It's about a 35% net margin on that. We have and after that is built, I'm going to expect at $500,000 minimum a piece per license. I will expect that we will probably do $5 to $10 million in licensing around the world very quickly. There'll be a lot of technology transfer, I'm sure, and then of course there'll be profit margins on the equipment. I won't say the profit margins because in some cases it'll be a joint venture, and we will be joint venturing based on rolling in our license into the project and being recognized as equity. So the equipment margin may be more or less on particular deals, but we will have equipment margin. There'll be royalties, there'll be license fees. I'm going to expect after the Quebec facility is done, we're going to do probably $10 million in revenue very quickly with just sales of licenses and equipment.
The next question, the question is, you'll be operating in several industries, and I guess they're asking sort of the percentage breakdown per industry. So I assume that they want a revenue breakdown, just an estimate of how much your revenue is going to come from cannabis, tobacco, and other industries.
Sure. Well, I think if we were to do a deal, to work with the tobacco industry, I think that revenue would be large. I couldn't even put a price tag on that because that would be large scale stuff. I mean, I would say that let's just call it large scale and we'll group pharma and tobacco together. I would say there's an opportunity for us to do 25 to $50 million worth of business with either one of those two opportunities as things move forward into the federal, which I think is coming sooner over the next 2 years. And a large portion of our revenue, I would say 30% of the revenue will come from food operations, but I think that about at least 30% of our revenue is going to come from licensing. So if we were to, over the next 2 years, do $50 million in between licensing, food sales, and everything, I would say that largely will be, $10 million will be licensing, 35 million would be equipment revenue, and the other, 5-6 million would be from food operations in Quebec.
This next question is, what year do you see revenues?
2015.
That's this year, Nick.
That's this year. Well, we're already in revenue. That's people don't quite understand. We've done some deals that we've bankrolled some stock for deals. So that is proving out to be revenue as we speak. And so it's not the type of revenue but it was a licensing deal, and we have in our next quarters you'll see we'll have to report it as revenue.
Okay, so I guess this answers the next question then. Any contracts signed, and what are the contract values?
Well, the contract value for the Mastronardi deal, which is they have agreed to purchase all of our products out of the facility in Quebec. So we have a 5-year value so if we grow $5.5 million a year worth of products out of Quebec, that would be a $27.5 million revenue over the next 5 years just from the Quebec facility. So that would be a 5-year plan there. But I'm pretty sure, folks, that after that first Quebec facility is built and profiting, pretty sure we're going to leverage the balance sheet to create the threat of mass producing and building more facilities everywhere. But I would be willing to bet my bottom dollar that there's going to be a giant that's going to be coming in to want to slow us down and take us over. There'll be at that point I would be willing to bet that there's much bigger players at the table. When I get the Quebec facility, or when Affinor gets the Quebec facility done, I'm pretty sure that the whole realm of Affinor is going to change.
Next and final question, any competitors, and is your patent pending, or has the patent went through?
Oh, there's competitors, sure, and I'll be happy to name some for you in a second, but let me address the patent first. The patent is a global patent on the roller design. It is phenomenal, and it is very well protected and very novel for commercial use. We have just received our patent, which Affinor owns the licensing globally for, and it will, once we receive the global patent, which should be soon, because we have written from the examiner from the PCT, so I believe we've received the US patent on the new design, and it's just been examined by the PCT, which came back extremely favorable. It's so favorable, I think I tweeted it. It was novel, all claims. It was just phenomenal. I've never had one go through the PCT with such little resistance in my history of many, many patents. So yes, we are globally protected, and we will be globally protected, and we will defend anything that infringes on our patents in any way. I'll let that be known. Also, the competitors, yes, there's, I don't know, I think they're called Sky Greens out of the Philippines. There's some group, they got something in Chicago. It's a big shelving type thing with LEDs. I could address the LEDs, will have LEDs as well. I'm just going to build my own LEDs because what they have is not what I need, and it's missing radiation. So for what we do, I'm sorry, but Philips Lighting and all of the LED companies, they just don't have what we need. But we will be owning our own proprietary LED. But the, let's see, there's, well, Abatis is not a competitor. Abatis is actually an ally. Now we don't have the same issues. We're working through a number of things there, so we're excited about where that's going. But the competitors would be, geez, Urban Barns is one that I've heard of. They got some kind of thing, again, LEDs and lots of moving parts. But I don't know. I've looked at some of the product being grown, and there was a few things clear to me that the Mary stem to the plants is not achieved because their romaine lettuce was quite flat. I didn't understand that entirety. Yeah, I think there's aeroponic group. Anyway, there's Toshiba. Let's talk about the ones that I believe that I might end up having a shot at working with. Like Toshiba's working on things. There's groups, you know, all over the world that are trying to achieve similar things. I see you know, we've reviewed all the patents that are coming online with groups all over the place, and a lot of interesting things. Fortunately, I understand what it takes to get from the seed into the ground to the product into the package very quickly. And some of the designs that I'm seeing coming out are just not practical, and they will just not achieve true automational format. And let's see, there's not too many that are worth mentioning.
All right, I guess that concludes Afinor's presentation, and the next presentation is at the top of the hour.